Do you know what air pollution is?
I don't know what it is because I haven't learnt it yet.
Good point. I wish we talked more about the importance of the air we breathe.
Hello again. Now the main stories in London.
There are more people who are dying prematurely linked with air quality, and the highest number of deaths linked with air quality is in boroughs in outer London, in Barnet, in Bromley, in Croydon and in Havering. And I think that the right to breathe clean air is one that all Londoners should benefit from, not just those in central London and in London.
No matter where we live, dirty air is hard to escape in London. Some people say it's like second-hand smoke. What do you need to do to be healthy?
You need to eat fruit and vegetables. You need to do sports every day. Sleep every day. Sleep the whole night. Wash everywhere.
I wish breathing clean air made it to their list of healthy habits. As they are growing up and making their own decisions, I regret we didn't talk more about the importance of the air we breathe. I didn't used to think it was important. I took it for granted. I heard that the London Underground is by far the most polluted part of the city. It worries me that my children regularly travel on the tube. There is not enough research and therefore evidence. However, we know that exposure to these tiny particles in the air, called PM2.5, is harmful. As we are doing more studies, I'm going to talk to Dr. Green from Imperial College London. My husband, Fred, came with me.
So when you compare the concentrations of air pollutants on the London Underground to a busy roadside, the concentrations of PM2.5 are much, much higher down in the London Underground, but the makeup of that pollution is different because the sources are very, very different. On the London Underground, the sources are very different. They are from the wear products of the trains moving over the rails or from the braking of the trains as well.
Dr. Green conducted a very interesting experiment that was eye-opening for me. He had collected some dust from the London Underground. He placed the dust on a tissue and the tissue over the top of a magnet. The tissue with the dust could lift the magnet up, and this shows that the dust is magnetic. When the rails and the wheels are grinding on each other, some tiny particles made of metal escape into the air that we breathe in. I asked Dr. Green if, based on his work, he thought it was safe for children to travel on the Underground every day.
The London Underground is very important for the commuting public, transporting people around London. We need to think about the alternatives from travelling from A to B and what type of exposure for pollution you would have on those different journeys. If there are alternatives which are a lower pollution route, whether that's walking over the back streets or cycling, then we should all consider taking a lower pollution route when we're travelling.
This was really interesting. I have just heard that some new research came out. Sadly, this new study confirms the link between tube dust and health risks. I can't help but think of all the times I have taken the kids on the tube. I want to know what TfL are doing about it. 5 years ago, Sadiq Khan launched a plan to improve the air quality on the tube. I couldn't find a lot of information online. I contacted TfL and I asked Dr. Green if we had seen any improvement in 5 years.
Assessing the long-term changes in concentrations of PM2.5 in the London Underground is very difficult. We don't have an established long-term measurement system. Some cities like Paris have a number of reference systems down in different parts of the underground, of their metro system. So they can assess these long-term changes. We just don't have that in London. So it's very difficult to assess how these long-term objectives are working.
I wonder what other people think. There are some interesting suggestions.
I think we may see some changes in the future. People more and more will carry small sensors to understand what they're exposed to. And I think this will really highlight the variability in exposures you get in different environments. As an academic group, we are also studying in more detail what people are exposed to in different environments. So whether they're in the home, whether they're travelling, whether they're on the underground, whether they're in their offices or their schools. We're seeking to understand that variability, and I think that's going to highlight the high concentrations that people are exposed to in those different environments. And the London Underground is going to come out as one of the top environments for exposure in London.
I decided to test the variability in exposure in my environment using my sensor. I work from home in the morning and travel on the tube between 1 and 3. I decided to show the results to my daughter.
Wow, that's high. I didn't realise it would be that high.
Today, measuring down on the platform in Knightsbridge, the levels were about 50 or 60, so 10 or 12 times the World Health Organization air quality guideline, if that was obviously sustained over a whole year. Levels of air pollution in the tube are much lower on, say, the district or circle line, these lines which are closer to the surface, which come in and out of open air. They're much less polluted and even close to surface levels of pollution. Maybe they're even cleaner than standing in this sort of traffic or near this sort of traffic. The older, deeper lines, where it's very hard for TfL to circulate the air, those lines tend to have much higher levels of these fine particles.
And so Mama and me, we went to see a professor who studies pollution in the underground, and he's shown us the dust. And what he's done is that he's taken a magnet, and the dust will get stuck to the magnet. What does that mean?
It means it's magnetic?
Yes, exactly. It's magnetic.
They go into your nostrils, and then they go into your lungs, and then they go into your bloodstream. We should try to reduce air pollution, so then the next generation can breathe clean air.
Clean Air in London has worked with the Green peer, Baroness Jenny Jones, and we drafted the Clean Air Bill with our lawyers at Jenny's request. This bill, which would enshrine precisely and explicitly the human right to clean air in UK law, is going to race through the House of Lords. So what it would mean is that in every decision taken by every public authority, including Transport for London, including the Metro Mayor, Metro Mayors like Sadiq Khan, in every decision they would need to consider clean air in the way that they consider equalities. Now that is incredibly exciting. Overnight, we would transform thinking and attention on these sort of issues amongst public authorities.
And we found that wearing just a simple surgical mask while travelling on the London Underground can reduce your exposure to PM2.5 by about 40%.